Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's webinar with Hannon and Geneway. I know that by the number of questions and queries we've received building up to tonight, that there is a lot of fascination around tonight's topic. And I guarantee you that by the end of the webinar, all of your questions will have been answered. It is super, super fascinating, and I'm really excited to be here. Joining me tonight, to my right, is Hannon Bothma, a well-known TV personality and South Africa's own glam guru. What is not so well known about this man is how much he knows about skincare, anti-aging, and the science behind beauty. His mind is literally a treasure trove of knowledge, and every time I speak to him, I'm astounded by how much he knows, a lot of which he will be sharing tonight. Welcome, Hannon.
Thanks, Jane.
Then next, Dr. Krista North. Dr. Krista is a genetics specialist at DNA testing company Geneway. Now, if you think Hannon knows a lot, wait till you meet this lady. Her life's passion is understanding human DNA and helping people use this information to live healthy lives. She's actually the one that decoded Hannon's DNA results, and she will be sharing all of that information with us tonight. Welcome, Dr. Krista.
Thanks, Jenny.
And then lastly, Bernice Venter. Bernice is one of Johannesburg's top dietitians. She specializes in nutrigenomics, food intolerance testing, and is absolutely passionate about nutrition and a healthy lifestyle. Welcome, Bernice.
Thanks, Jenny.
Now, we hear a lot in the media about new technology and about how developments in science can help prevent aging. But the end result of this information is usually just somebody using that information to sell you an expensive moisturizer. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe in quality skincare products and they are worth investing in. However, anti-aging is so much more than that. I was actually chatting to Hannon a few weeks ago and he summed it up perfectly when he said, anti-aging is actually a way of life, which is so true. It's not only about what you put on your skin, but also what you put in your body, how you cater to your body's unique nutritional needs, and really how you live your life every single day. Now, one of the best ways to know what your body needs is by looking at your DNA. 20 years ago, that may have seemed impossible, unthinkable, expensive, or out of your reach. And today, this is absolutely possible and well within your reach. More than that, it's actually essential. And this is the crux of what tonight's webinar is all about. Unlocking the information in your DNA so that you can manage your skin, slow your aging process, and ultimately live your best life. The ladies here tonight are from Geneway, one of South Africa's top DNA testing companies. They have a state-of-the-art laboratory in Pretoria. I've been there. It is absolutely fascinating to see. And Geneway is also one of the few South African DNA testing companies that collaborates with universities on postgraduate research to ensure that this field develops in the country. So before we get started, I thought I would just bust a few myths about DNA, since there are a lot of ideas about it. Firstly, your DNA never changes. From the time that you're born till the time that you die, it is exactly the same. So no matter what age you test yourself, you will get the same results, provided you do the same test, of course. Secondly, you do inherit your DNA from your parents. For every gene, or S&P, which will be explained shortly what that means, you inherit one from your mom and one from your dad, and the most prominent one at that point will be the one that you get. And this explains why you may have eyes that are more like your mom, but perhaps your dad's leg shape or your dad's teeth. It also explains certain health and behavioral traits why you may be more like one parent and a lot like the other in other respects. The next thing is that no two people's DNA is ever the same. So while your DNA may be similar to your siblings or family members, you are 100% unique. And lastly, DNA acts like a trigger. And that's a very important thing to understand here. So while our genes predispose us to certain things, it is up to us whether we trigger these genes. And those genes are typically triggered by environmental factors. So if, for example, you're predisposed to something like diabetes, for example, like me, the trick is knowing what to do to prevent that gene from triggered. The trick is knowing what to do to prevent that gene from being triggered from a nutritional, an exercise, and a lifestyle point of view. The information is there to help you. And this is really how precision medicine works. And it is the new way forward in medicine because it empowers you to prevent illness and avoid it instead of the old fashioned approach of only treating illness when someone gets sick. Now, obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but you get the idea. It's all about a personalized approach and a proactive approach based on your unique body so that you can manage your health in a proactive way. Your DNA is quite detailed, obviously. So, what Geneway does is it groups the DNA tests that it offers according to the types of genes, giving you options to choose which test would answer your questions. So, for example, there's the gene diet test, which is all about working out what you should and shouldn't eat according to your DNA. Then there's the gene sport test, which gives you personalized guidelines regarding your exercise, your fitness, and your training regime. A lot of sportsmen and athletes do this, as you can imagine. And another test, which they recently launched called Gene RX, helps explain why certain medications may be giving you bad side effects or may not be working. And this gives you good recommendations about what medication you should be taking. And then a test you'll hear a lot about today is the Gene Renew test, which is all about the skin. Throughout tonight's webinar, you will have the opportunity to ask our panelists questions. Please do this anytime by typing your questions into the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. Your questions will be answered at the end, and we'll do our very best to answer all of them. So to get started and to give you a very quick introduction to DNA and how it all works, Bernice will give you a quick rundown, which will help you understand everything in today's webinar better. Over to you, Bernice.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, so I'm going to give a brief introduction to Geneway and what exactly we test. So Geneway is a genetic testing company that tests for possible risk factors for lifestyle diseases and conditions, and with the help of a trained healthcare professional network, provide intervention strategies for improved health outcomes. So what are we testing? When we think about DNA, it sounds very scary, but it's actually quite simple. We as humans are made up of cells. Inside our cells, we get things called chromosomes. And if you see on the top picture, when you unravel that chromosome, you get your genes. Within the gene, you get something called a variant. And I always explain it almost looks like a ladder and the step on a ladder. And when we look closely on this variant, you get all those letters. Now, again, that looks very complicated, very scary, but this is actually the recipe for who you are. So these letters are called nucleotides. There are 4 of them, and those are the letters that you see there. You will actually recognize these letters on the reports and on the results, so have a look out for them a bit later. And these letters form, or these nucleotides form base pairs. There are actually 3 billion of them, in fact. So this is what we're testing. We want to see, did you inherit a variant from mom or dad or both? And what does this base pair look like? So the variation we also call a SNP, and this is what Jenny mentioned earlier. So a SNP or an SNP causes a protein to change, and thus the gene function to change. And that's what we want to see is, do you have a variation? Is there a possible gene function change, and what can we do about it? So you can see there on the left with all those letters, if you've inherited a variation on this base pair, and these letters are a bit more jumbled than what we expect, you get physical changes. So this is where you get your curly hair from, your height difference, orange hair, blue eyes, etc. But it also determines if you have disease susceptibility or how you respond to different medications. So a change in this variation or in these nucleotides can actually be the difference between being fat or fit. So what is epigenetics? This basically explains that genes function like light switches. We can turn them on and we can turn them off. So things like sunlight, toxins, exercise, our diet, our supplements, our environment can turn these genes on or off. And this is what we want to determine, to see where's your variation, should we be switching these genes on or off, and what in your lifestyle and your environment can we adapt to help this happen. So people often ask, can you change a gene? You cannot change a gene per se. You can do your gene test when you're born or when you're 80, and your genetic results will look the same. You can, however, change gene expression. Again, looking at, can we turn these genes on and off? And as Jenny mentioned, it is up to you. You may have a risk, but what you do with that risk and with that information is up to you. So when we look at our approach in Geneway, you do get different approaches to medicine. You get personalized medicine, which is based on your genes, preventative healthcare, which measures are taken for disease prevention as opposed to disease treatment, and then functional medicine, which addresses the underlying cause of disease, engaging both patient and practitioner in a therapeutic partnership, and then your precision medicine, which actually takes all of those into account and basically is a medical model that proposes the customization of healthcare with medical decisions, practices, or products being tailored to the individual patient based on the predicted risk of disease. So we want to take all of that information and see what is the best for you for prevention. So these results are not a diagnosis. It's more about identifying the risk factors and using these tests as a guide to take control of your health and well-being before these conditions occur. So just a bit more about Geneway. What are their testing capabilities? It's a personal genomic and biotechnology lab. They test 120 of these SNPs or SNPs, and it's tested across 18 biological systems. So it really is a lot of information you actually get about your body. We do customizable testing capabilities and reports, and it is all evidence-based reporting. So every result that you get is based on evidence. And lastly, what are your patient benefits? Individualized reporting, it's your test, it's your genes. A once-off test, you only have to do it once. Identifying genetic-specific risks on health and wellness for preventative intervention, and identifying unexplained conditions and implementing that individualized intervention. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Bernice. So moving on to our next presentation, the man that you are most likely very excited to see, Hannon will now give you an introduction to the Gene Renew test, which, as you may have guessed it, is all about your skin. And he will refer to certain genetic indicators, which are obviously genes that are tested. And his presentation is very, very nicely worked out to give you examples of treatments or products that you would use if those genes were identified in your test. So over to you, Hannon.
Thanks, Jenny. Now, some of you know me as the person who try and inspire others to look their best at any age. Now, anyone who's ever watched my television series Glam Guru will agree with me that when someone looks better, younger even, they do feel better. So looking good has value and can make a huge difference in how you take on life's many challenges. If we're lucky, we'll all grow old, but no one, however, wants to grow old with aches and pains, not to mention being wrinkly, covered in age spots, and probably losing our hair. We cannot stop the clock, but with modern science, we can now slow down the speed with which we develop aging symptoms. We can even, in some cases, reverse the visible signs of aging. Now, this I've personally witnessed when clients send me photographs of how their hair grew back or how their pigmentation marks disappeared after using products that specifically treats and targets these symptoms. From as young as I can remember, I was always aware of genes that we inherit from our parents. Now, my mother's side of the family carry a hereditary condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. It's a degenerative bone condition causing bones to be so brittle that it can break with the slightest impact. My mother inherited the gene from her father, which got it from his mother. So being the firstborn son, everybody expected me to get the gene, but instead my sister was the unlucky one. Now, she subsequently passed on the gene to her son that decided to rather not have children of his own. Now, I remember spending days in hospital when my mother and sister had to have yet another medical procedure. But now, on a more frivolous note, my father's side of the family have baldness. They were 10 brothers, of which only one still has hair today. So sitting around the kitchen table during family gatherings, hair loss, its possible causes, and even remedies, in my opinion, mostly old wives' tales, were always part of the discussions. Hours were spent on debating which cousins will be the unlucky ones and what precautions had to be taken to avoid going bald. So I knew about the basket of genes that we all inherit from our parents, and of which there's some pretty useful ones, not only those causing health challenges and premature aging. From the beginning of my career, when formulating cosmetic products, it was always with the prevention of premature aging in mind. We know now that aging happens from the inside, but topical products, for instance, anti-hair loss products, and skincare products to boost collagen synthesis and cytoplasm production can give results in a very short period if you introduce it as a lifestyle. Now, we're all aware of aging, but we're also aware of our budget and the time that we spend in front of the mirror. By knowing your Gene Renew test results, you can now focus on those specific areas to which you have an impaired genetic disposition. If you do not have the gene for hair loss, for instance, don't spend your time and money on anti-hair loss products. If you know that collagen production that you need for skin elasticity is a genetic challenge, then rather use your resources and products and procedures that will promote collagen production to keep your skin smooth and elastic. Now, this to me is the beauty of Geneway. Now, there are 7 areas of the aging process that we can identify with the Gene Renew test results. They are hair loss, photoaging, firmness and elasticity, cell renewal, glycation, very interesting topic, and oxidative stress. And then finally, sensitivity and inflammation. Now, I'd like to start with hair loss because in my opinion, this is the #1 image concern of most clients and patients. We all become anxious when we find more hair on our pillow or in the basin than usual. Now, there are many causes for hair loss, but if you do not carry the gene for hair loss, your hair will probably start growing back all by itself. For men, the hair loss gene is activated at the age of about 16. By your mid-20s, you will see significant hair thinning, and by your 30s, even more so. For women, the hair loss gene is activated a little bit later during premenopause and becomes more obvious during and then after menopause. Now, the appearance of hereditary hair loss is always the same. It only affects the top of your scalp. If you have the gene for hereditary hair loss, testosterone is converted into dihydrotestosterone, or in short, DHT. Now, DHT causes the hair follicle to shrink and the hair to fall out. Once hereditary hair loss is noticed, it is almost already too late to completely reverse the thinning effect. But if, however, you start to incorporate anti-hair loss products into your daily lifestyle, you might notice a significant improvement in hair thickness. My first recommendation would be to start addressing your diet immediately. Research shows that a diet of deep-fried food has the potential to speed up the conversion of testosterone to the damaging DHT. Green vegetables, rich in iron, is a great source of hair growth nutrients and, of course, a healthy lifestyle choice. Taking a daily supplement, like the anti-hair loss capsules, will not only support new hair growth, but will assist in producing a better quality hair. Now, there is anti-hair loss medication for men that your medical doctor can prescribe to you, but just be aware of the side effects. The anti-hair loss capsules do not have any side effects and is, in my opinion, a safe supplement for men and women to incorporate into your nutrition and into your daily lifestyle. A shampoo is not just a shampoo. If you are concerned with hair loss, make sure that the directions on the shampoo bottle clearly indicates that this shampoo is free of sodium chloride, salt, in other words. Manufacturers make use of salt as a thickening agent, but using a shampoo that contains salt may absorb essential nutrients from your scalp. Now, to give you an analogy, when we make biltong, we sprinkle it with salt, which helps with the extraction of moisture. And exactly the same thing will happen when using a shampoo that contains sodium chloride. The More Hair shampoo is completely salt-free and rich in biotin, also known as the hair vitamin. Acetyltyrosine is an amino acid in the shampoo, which is responsible for keratin production, stronger hair in other words, and the strengthening of your hair follicles. Instead of using an ordinary conditioner, consider using the scalp therapy treatment that doubles up as a conditioner. The scalp therapy treatment that you need to leave on your hair and scalp for about 5 minutes every time before rinsing contains trichogen veg. Trichogen veg is an ingredient that helps to prevent testosterone to be converted into the damaging DHT. It leaves your scalp ice cold after rinsing. So any woman going through menopause would absolutely love it. Now, to keep your hair growth cycle activated and to lengthen the hair growth phase before it goes into the falling out phase, you need to spray the hair growth follicle booster directly onto your scalp every time after you've shampooed your hair. A high percentage of caffeine will keep your hair growth cycle active. And once again, trichogen veg that we already spoke about will assist in the blocking of the conversion of testosterone to DHT. The second gene renew identification is photoaging. Now, photoaging refers to aging of the skin as a result of exposure to UV radiation. Different skin types respond differently to tanning and will have a different aging prognosis with regards to developing pigmentation and just general skin sensitivity. The best defense against photoaging is to understand your unique risk factor. Sun damage starts to accumulate from the first time that you're exposed to the sun when you are still a baby. It's only in our 20s when we start noticing pigmentation as a result of this lifelong exposure. Now, for you to understand how pigmentation is formed, I'd like just to refresh your memory with a very short school biology class. Melanocytes are cells in the skin that produce melanin. Now, melanin is responsible for your unique skin color, and it's also our skin's natural sun protection. When we are exposed to prolonged, unprotected UV radiation, some melanocytes become unstable and overproduce melanin cells. It's during pregnancy, and especially when taking birth control medication, that the melanocytes are particularly vulnerable to becoming unstable. Now, melanin cells are attracted to one another and start forming melanin groups, which we call melanosomes. Now, when these melanosomes start attracting each other, the melanin groups become even bigger and dark patches become visible from outside the skin. And this is basically what pigmentation is and how it's formed. Prevention is always better than cure. So, using a broad spectrum sunscreen every day from when you're young is the obvious answer. Now, although the sun is the main source of UV radiation, we're also exposed to UV radiation from our office fluorescent lights, our computer screens, and even cell phones. This is information that very few people know. UV exposure is therefore all around us, even indoors. Now, not all sunscreens are equal, but the minimum protection sun factor or sunscreen factor should be 30. A broad spectrum sunscreen like the Daily Sunscreen Moisturizer protects not only against UVA radiation, but also UVB and UVC. The fact that this sunscreen is completely oil-free is such a plus for anyone who has an oily skin type. It is completely absorbed into your skin with no oily feeling. For a skin which is already showing signs of sensitivity and inflammation, zinc oxide is an ingredient that calms skin sensitivity and assists with skin healing. Now, this sunscreen is also a complete moisturizer if you have a normal, oily, or a combination skin type. Interesting enough, my personal gene renew results indicated that I am at a particularly high risk to develop photoaging and even skin cancer. So now I apply it even in the evening because I might watch television or play on my cell phone. Now, talking about UV protection, never forget about your delicate eye area where the skin is much thinner than the rest of your face. Now, although you can apply the Daily Sunscreen Moisturizer close to your eyes, you could also apply the vitamin E eye cream on top of it. Vitamin E is not only a powerful antioxidant, but it is also a natural UV filter. So around the delicate eye area, you can enjoy double UV protection. Now, of course, wearing good quality sunglasses also gives an added protection. Treating pigmentation is a lifelong lifestyle commitment because once your melanocytes have become unstable, it will always produce more melanin and you will always be prone to develop new pigmentation. To exfoliate your skin twice a week will not only help any anti-pigmentation serums to penetrate better, but it will visibly lighten surface pigmentation immediately. Now, if you start treating pigmentation, use the enzyme skin peeler that you apply, leave on for 5 to 10 minutes, and then rinse. The enzyme skin peeler contains a high percentage of orange oil. Now, orange oil is a great source of vitamin C, which happens to be a natural bleaching agent that will immediately lighten the pigmentation close to the skin surface. Now, we've already spoke about the daily sunscreen moisturizer. Underneath your daily sunscreen moisturizer, you should apply the lightening serum for pigmentation. Oligopeptide 34 is an active ingredient that breaks up the groups of melanin clumped together so that the pigmentation marks will gradually become smaller before it hopefully completely disappears. When treating pigmentation, one needs to be patient. It took more than 20 years for the cumulative sun damage to manifest into pigmentation, so it might take some time to completely remove it. The third and fourth gene renewal identification are firmness and cell renewal. Now, how firm and smooth your skin and how quickly our wounds heal itself are all interlinked. When we're young, we wake up in the morning fresh-faced after a sleep, but after 40, we start noticing the creases that the bed sheets leave in our faces. Sometimes I think to myself, now what happened to this face during the night? Now, you'll also recall that as a child, your scars and bruises healed almost overnight, but as we grow older, it takes longer to heal. Why? And how does this happen? Our skin is entirely made up of cells. The intercellular mass in between the different cells is called collagen. Now, collagen, very important word, provides elasticity to our skin. It acts like thousands of elastic bands that enable your skin to bounce back if you pull or if you stretch it. The cells of our skin are filled with a gel-like substance called cytoplasm. Now, I like to call cytoplasm your youth juice. Cytoplasm gives each cell a beautiful plump-like effect. Cytoplasm is responsible for cell division, some might call it cell renewal, and of course, collagen production. So if a cell is filled to full capacity with cytoplasm, cell division as well as collagen production is activated. Unfortunately, as we age, our youth juice becomes less, which causes the cell to start looking like a deflated balloon. Now, with less cytoplasm, cell renewal becomes less, and then collagen synthesis completely stops. This causes the skin to start hanging loose and skin healing to become slower and slower. One effective way to increase collagen production is to cause injury to the skin, but in a controlled way. If you exfoliate your skin twice a week with a granular exfoliator like the mother of pearl facial scrub, it almost acts like sandpapering the surface of your skin. Now, your skin receives a message that it's injured and is, as a result, forced in response to manufacture new collagen to start healing that injury. It's important that you understand that the more cytoplasm we have in our cells, the quicker cell renewal can take place and the healthier collagen production can be. It is famously challenging for our bodies to increase collagen synthesis with topical creams and serums. So, another way we can increase collagen production is to rather increase cytoplasm production, because remember, more cytoplasm will activate collagen production in any case. Moist 24 is the active ingredient in all the Hannon skincare moisturizers and serums. It's a potassium-rich concentrate that is highly absorbent through the epidermis of the skin. Once absorbed, it will immediately start to activate cytoplasm production. And with more cytoplasm in the cells, cell renewal is activated and collagen production can start taking place again. Moist 24 stays active for 24 hours after application, so the cycle of cell renewal and collagen production is activated over and over again every time you apply a Hannon moisturizer or serum. Now, when this cycle is reactivated again, we can say that we are literally starting to reverse the visible signs of aging. The skin will start to look plumper and firmness will improve. This is actually a fantastic way to demonstrate how your impaired genetic tendencies are not necessarily your destiny and how you can influence your gene expression, even if you are genetically predisposed to premature aging or reduced collagen production. Your age has nothing to do with the type of moisturizer that you should use. Now, whether your skin is oily, dry, normal, or combination is mostly genetic. It does become dry with age, but I have met many teenagers with dry skin. And I often come across 50-something-year-old clients who still have an oily skin type. Using the correct moisturizer for your specific skin type is essential. You do not want to undernourish and deprive your skin, but you also do not want to overnourish your skin because this will result in your skin becoming lazy to produce its own sebum. Now, if you have an oily skin, for instance, which is always shiny, recognized with enlarged pores, you should use the oil-controlled moisturizer. A combination skin, which is oily on some areas, usually the forehead and the nose areas, and dry on other areas, should use the balancing moisturizer. If you're lucky enough to have a normal skin with an even texture and hardly any pores visible, use the Hydrolite moisturizer. A dry skin type, which often feels tight, should use the Intense Hydrating Moisturizer. If you are somebody who, with extra dry skin, who is not getting relief from conventional moisturizers, you can use the Double Moisture Face Cream. Of course, anyone or any skin type can use the Night Cream Ultra Rich at night, but if you have an oilier skin type, just apply it a little bit more sparingly. Glycation is the 5th gene renew identification. Now, I often witness clients with this skin condition, but I always assumed that it was just simply a dehydrated or a mature skin that was severely neglected. So when I watched the documentary, The Truth About Sugar, it was actually the first time that I truly understood the term glycation. Glucose is the main source that our body uses as fuel. Now, if not metabolized properly, glucose will damage your skin's collagen and elastin, preventing the skin from regenerating. Now, as a result, the skin will severely lose elasticity, become sensitive, and it appears dehydrated to the extreme. Prevention is better than cure. So, if your DNA results determine that you have the gene to develop glycation, try and avoid eating refined carbohydrates, and especially sugar. Treatment to improve the visible symptoms of glycation will include topical products consisting of alpha-hydroxy acids and an ingredient niacin, which have anti-glycation properties. The first step of treatment would be to soften and smooth the skin by exfoliating your skin twice a week with the enzyme skin peeler. Now, this exfoliator consists almost entirely of alpha-hydroxy acids. Within a month or two, Hannon will be launching a nighttime serum. The Midnight Recovery Serum combines alpha-hydroxy acids with niacin. Now, our test results promise a fairly quick and visible improvement in skin smoothness and the appearance of a glycation skin condition. The extreme dry appearance of a glycation skin can also improve quite dramatically if the skin can just simply hold on to the moisture of a moisturizer. By applying the collagen smoothing serum underneath your moisturizer will enable your skin to hold on to the moisture molecules of a moisturizer. The collagen smoothing serum contains hyaluronic acids, which acts like a sponge for moisture. The richest moisturizer on the market that you can currently use is the Double Moisture Face Cream. The 6th gene renew identification is oxidative stress or free radicals. Research has shown that the number of free radicals in our body is directly proportional to the healthy long-term appearance of your skin. Every day, we are exposed to pollution, cigarette smoke, insecticides on fruit and vegetables, household cleaning products, and so on. Most of us are genetically unable to metabolize these harmful agents, so free radicals are formed and accumulate in the body. Free radicals do not only cause serious health issues, but also skin discoloration and a loss in skin elasticity. Now, in order to clean our body and skin of free radicals, we need antioxidants that we can take as a supplement, maybe include in our daily diet, and use in topical skincare products. A wonderful example to demonstrate how effective an antioxidant is to cut an apple in half and cover one section with lemon juice, which is the antioxidant vitamin C. The uncovered section will turn brown in no time, while the area covered with the antioxidant will remain unchanged by exposure to the environment. Now, in our modern society, we cannot completely avoid being exposed to free radicals. We need to simply just get on with life. If you know what your specific risk factors are, you can start making small changes in your lifestyle by avoiding certain exposures. Now, I, interestingly enough, discovered that my personal risk factors are some food flavoring ingredients that I love, by the way, all of it, and plastic. So now I read the ingredients on the containers, and I don't heat my food in plastic containers. With regards to topical skincare products, it's safe to say that choosing products that contain powerful antioxidants are the best you can do. Vitamin C is found in the enzyme skin peeler that I've mentioned numerous times. Vitamin E is found in most Hannon moisturizers, including the vitamin E eye cream, and retinol or vitamin A is found in the night cream ultra rich and the scar repair tissue oil. I do believe in eating yourself healthy. Vegetables with the highest amount of antioxidants are spinach and broccoli. Nuts and berries are also great sources of antioxidants. So if you like snacking, rather choose these healthier options. If you occasionally enjoy a glass of wine, it's worth noting that red wine contains much more antioxidants than white wine. The final gene renew indicator is for skin sensitivity and inflammation. So many people suspect that they have sensitive skin, but you only have sensitive skin if you have visible signs of irritation, like the flakiness of eczema and psoriasis, or the redness, which is associated with rosacea. Now, if your skin burns easily when you apply new products, it's not necessarily sensitive. It might just be dehydrated. And when you then apply a moisturizing product, it penetrates with such speed that it feels like a slight burning sensation. If the skin, however, turns red or starts to become swollen after applying products, then you might indeed have a sensitive skin. It's possible to trigger a skin to become sensitive with unprotected UV exposure and exposure to extreme hot and cold climates. Using harsh skincare products could also trigger skin sensitivity, especially cleansers can strip the skin of its natural protective acid mantle, and this is often to blame. Now, an inflamed skin will always be red, and if you are predisposed to carry the vulgaris bacteria, which causes acne, it will also be painful. So, sensitive skin and inflamed skin are two separate conditions, but they have one thing in common: they both need to be calmed. When dealing with a truly sensitive skin type, I always urge clients to keep their skincare regime as basic as possible. This skin condition cannot handle an overload of active ingredients. A basic skincare regime consists of a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer, of which all should contain anti-inflammatory skin calming ingredients. It's also worth mentioning that products that are fragrance-free will be calmer on your skin than those with fragrance. It is, however, not always possible for all cosmetic products to be fragrance-free, which then makes the inclusion of anti-inflammatory ingredients even more important. The gentle face wash, as well as the gentle cleansing face bar, are two different cleansers. They both contain an ingredient, acnet, which prevents inflammation and fights acne breakout. The gentle face wash also contains witch hazel, which is a calming ingredient that reduces skin redness, and allantoin, which is the ingredient that soothes irritated skin. The gentle cleansing face bar is the cleanser to use if you have an acne condition, as it reduces sebum production, which is the breeding ground for the vulgaris bacteria. The one reason why skin becomes sensitive is because the pH of the skin is unstable and will therefore react to any foreign substance it comes in contact with. The ideal pH for human skin is between 4.5 and 5.5. At this pH level, the skin feels calm and it can absorb moisturizing ingredients from your moisturizer. The easiest way to bring your skin to the ideal pH is by spraying the pH balancing toner on your skin before your moisturizer. It contains antiseptic properties and also helps to soothe irritated skin. If you have a truly sensitive skin, there are two moisturizers that I can recommend because they are both fragrance-free. The Daily Sunscreen Moisturizer is ideal if you spend time outdoors and if you have an acne condition, as it is completely oil-free and zinc oxide is an important ingredient to calm inflammation and to assist with skin healing. If you have an extra dry skin, I will recommend that you use the Double Moisture Face Cream that leaves a protective moisture layer on the skin to keep the moisture locked in. This face cream is also the ideal cream if you have, for instance, an eczema condition. Now, in conclusion, following a healthy lifestyle has many benefits for your health, your skin, and your overall well-being. Geneway is not a diagnosis. It just simply helps you identify certain risk factors for your skin, but there's more. So Berenice will be telling us a little bit later more about what else Geneway has to offer to help improve our overall health.
Thank you so much, Hannon, for that excellent explanation. Did you ever think, or could you have imagined that genes and anti-aging could be so interesting? I really enjoyed that, and a great explanation of how the genetic markers that come out in your Gene Renew test show you what products and steps of treatments that you need. Just remember that you can type your comments into the comment box anytime. I see there are already some questions coming through, and we will answer those at the end. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is the very accomplished Dr. Krista North. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Krista works with DNA for a living. It is her absolute forte, and there's nobody better to explain more about genes and how these work than her. And as I also mentioned, she was also the one that explained Hannon's results to him, and she's now going to be giving him a condensed version of his presentation of his Gene Renew results. And this is also just to give you an indication that if you did your own Geneway test, what is the kind of feedback that you could expect, but obviously in a shorter and more compact form. So over to you, Dr. Krista.
Thanks, Jenny. I think everybody's quite excited to hear and to get to know Hannon much, much better. But first of all, to understand how DNA testing can benefit your anti-aging regime, we need to understand the term epigenetics. Epigenetics simply refers to factors that essentially switch DNA on and off. And we can compare this to a computer. Your DNA and your genes are the hardware, thus the actual computer, and epigenetics is the software, for example, your email program or Microsoft Word. Epigenetics is fascinating in that you can control the programs that you put on your computer and how good you're going to take care of it. Now, the key to anti-aging and good health in general lies in knowing your genetic profile, in other words, what your computer is capable of, as well as which genes to switch on and which ones to switch off and how. You need to put the correct programs on your computer to get what you want out of it. Examples of these epigenetic factors that switch our genes on and off all the time include vitamins in our foods or supplements, the UV rays of the sun, pollution, and ingredients in personal care products. But how do you know what is important for you to take, or what do you need to avoid? Which products do you need to choose? So quite simply, the genetic testing will take the guesswork out of the equation and avoid you spending money on products or supplements that will not benefit you. So Hannon, let's look at your genetic results. With each GeneWay test, we use a science-based algorithm to rank an individual's genetic risk per area. From the left to the right, we see your highest to lowest genetic risks. So your highest genetic risk lies with elasticity problems, which refers to the cytoplasm and collagen that was explained by you earlier. I've chosen 3 areas of your genetic results to discuss in a bit more detail. Let us start with your cell renewal and hair loss risk. Here are your actual genetic results. Now, we do use a very easy system of just 3 colors to indicate the risk, so it does make it much more simpler to understand. But viewers and clients of GeneWay do not have to be concerned about having to make sense out of all the genetic results and understand all the scientific jargon. Your practitioner will discuss the results with you and make actionable recommendations. Let's look at the first gene with a red dot. Now, just like your name is Hannon, that gene's name is COL5A1. And this gene, together with other genes, is responsible to trigger your body to produce collagen and assist in the healing of the skin after injury. And this gene is also very much involved in the risk of hair loss. That red dot tells us that this gene is permanently inactive. So this is simply the way you were born, but in the genetic reports you received, GeneWay also told you what to do to overcome this genetic deficiency. The second gene, called ACE, is responsible for ensuring proper blood flow to the hair follicles to allow nutrients to reach the hair follicles, which will, of course, stimulate growth. That yellow dot indicates this gene is somewhat functional, but still meaning you do need to get epigenetic assistance or receive external help to solve this problem. The next gene, called CYP19A, also has a yellow dot. This is the gene that results in your body essentially producing too much testosterone, which can cause higher levels of the DHT hormone you referred to earlier. This is likely the most well-recognized cause of hair loss in males. I've asked your scientists to send me the formulations of all your products because I wanted to match your gene results with the compounds that the genetic research recommends for your specific dysfunctioning genes. Because quite frankly, looking at your genetic results, I really expected you to have a bit less hair. Now, you are indeed the perfect example of how to overcome these genetic deficiencies and if you implement the right strategies. And these are just a few of the ingredients that are found in your hair loss products, which complement the genetic risks and the solutions perfectly. For example, caffeine is critical to stimulate blood flow to the hair follicles and will sort out that ACE gene of yours. Prosopol strengthens the hair follicle and Immucell stimulates the cell's renewal. The trichogen veg is a powerful DHT blocker, and the fact that you have been using that has certainly contributed to you overcoming these genetic deficiencies. Collagen and collagen supplements assisted with the prevention of the breakdown of the collagen that must keep the hair in place. Your inborn protection against sunburn and UV rays is significantly reduced due to these impaired gene functions, and it means an increase in the risk of pigmentation, commonly known as the sunspots, but it can also lead to skin cancer. And the other major problem with poor UV protection is that it literally breaks your DNA strands. So in response to this, your body tries to repair those DNA strands. And if you have genetic deficiencies, it's easier said than done, and which unfortunately also ages you from the inside out. The bottom line, you really did the right thing by wearing sunscreen from an early age. The last genetic risk area I want to touch on is oxidative stress. Now, if we look at your genetic profile, you might think it's not looking too bad, but these 2 yellow dot genes are essential in dealing with oxidative stress. The fact that they do not work optimally can have significant premature aging and negative health effects. So what can you do to overcome this lack of antioxidant production? The SOT2 gene is your body's first built-in defense. As soon as the body detects oxidative stress, which include the toxins and UV rays, this SOT2 gene must be switched on and defend your body's DNA cells. Now, your SOT2 gene is a little bit lazy, and the solution is to ensure that you have more antioxidants entering the body than someone who doesn't have this deficiency. And you can do this by maintaining a healthy diet, taking supplements, and use skincare products that contain antioxidants. However, one of the most important lifestyle changes a defective SOT2 gene demands is sleep. So the term beauty sleep in your case couldn't be more relevant. So let's look at what the EPHX1 gene normally does. This gene detoxifies something called epoxides. Epoxides are found in things such as antifreeze, but also in many personal care products. And I'm very impressed that virtually all the Hannon products were free of epoxides. Now, one of the ways people can identify a product as being epoxide-free is when it is labeled fragrance-free, such as your vitamin E eye cream. In this slide is a snapshot of how Geneway summarized the recommendations based on your genetic profile. For example, based purely on your genetics, we recommend certain blood tests, such as your testosterone, because I definitely expect your testosterone levels to be much more elevated due to that CYP19A1 gene. So Hannon, here is the anti-aging regime that I've put together for you. So to address each one of your risk areas, I've chosen some products which precisely have the correct ingredients in the correct active format to remedy those genetic deficiencies. And this is just one of the many benefits for everybody knowing their genetic results. You can spend your time and money where it will really make a difference to assist you in getting the results that you want. And the role of the Geneway practitioner is in essence to act as a translator. The practitioner will translate your genetic results into actionable steps. So Hannon, you also did all the other tests. So you and I had a couple of deep conversations, but also lots of laughs. Yeah, so thanks. It was really interesting to work with you, and I look forward to seeing you getting younger and healthier each day. Right. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christa. I think if there is someone who gets younger and better looking all the time, it definitely is Hannon. Earlier in tonight's webinar, I mentioned precision medicine and how there's so much information in your DNA, as you are already picking up, that can be used to live a healthy and full life. The information is there, the science is there, and you can use this. So to take things one step further, Bernice will now give us more information about how this works.
Thanks, Jenny. So I just thought I'd give a bit of an overview about what the other tests are that Geneway offers. So Hannon spoke about earlier, and he said it's all about that overall health, that holistic approach, and it's not only about stuff that you put on your skin, but what you're taking in and looking at your nutrients in your diet too. So as you can see there on the screen, those are all the tests that Geneway do offer. So looking at Gene Sport, Gene RX, Gene Diet, Gene Renew, Gene Immune, and Gene Well. So the Gene Well, you can see there, looks at overall disease risk. We want to obviously identify where your risks lie for certain conditions and lifestyle diseases, and what we can do to help prevent these conditions or even help you with interventions. So we test a number of things like blood clotting, bone health, caffeine metabolism, cancer risks, inflammation, hypertension, lactose intolerance, and the list goes on. We even look at some of your brain genes and look at risks for stress and mood disorders, for example, depression, anxiety, and even things like dementia. So really a nice way to look at your overall health, what are your risk factors, and what you can do about it. Then the Gene Diet looks at your genetic predisposition to being overweight and how these appropriate measures can assist you in choosing the right diet for you. We look at things like feeding behaviors, appetite control, the fat burning process, what type of diet works for you. You know, some people do well on a keto, some people do well on intermittent fasting, etc. We want to help you understand what works well for your body. And then other things like nutrients absorption. Then I think we've definitely covered the Gene Renew extensively tonight. So I think you've got quite a bit of information on that one. And then the Gene Sports also looks at, whether you're a recreational or a professional sports athlete, what type of exercise works for you? How do you respond? What is your sporting potential? How long you should exercise for? What is the right time of day you should exercise? And even the types of nutrients you need for recovery. I know for myself, I'm very fortunate. I only have to exercise 20 to 30 minutes a day. So I was very happy to have done my sports test because that was a very positive feedback result that I got there. And then the GeneRx will provide you insight into how a patient metabolizes, transports, and binds certain prescription drugs, which empowers physicians to prescribe medications that will most likely be the most effective for the first-time treatment. So if you are struggling with a side effect or you think a medication isn't working for you, this GeneRx report will actually help identify if you're metabolizing this medication properly or not. And then lastly, our Gene Immune Test, which actually identifies genes to help you to realize, how do you protect your body? How do you fight certain conditions or illnesses? If you get the flu, for example, it's not only about treating the flu, but looking at, do you maybe have underlying inflammation that could be making this worse? And that is something we want to focus on too. So that Gene Immune one was also launched quite recently. And then we have our GeneWay supplements. These were tailored and produced specifically to support genes. So you can ask your practitioner about the GeneWay supplements and which ones will work for you specifically. Thanks, Jenny.
Now, before we end off today, I bet that you are fascinated about what your DNA says about you. So we'd like to offer you a special offer that you can do this test yourself at a once-off special price. The Gene Renew test, this is the one focusing only on your skin, would be 2,800 Rand instead of the usual 3,220. So this means you can save 420 Rand. However, if you would like to do the full gene combo test, you'll get even better value. You can get this test, which includes the Gene Renew, Gene Diet, Gene Wellness, and the Gene Sport for 4,080 Rand instead of the usual 4,525, which means you can save 445 Rand. This is like 4 tests in one. I know which one I would take. Now, if you booked a ticket to this webinar, you will have received your GeneWay DNA testing kit. So all you need to do when you wake up tomorrow morning is to do your sample, and GeneWay will send someone to collect it. It is simply that easy. Now, Krista and Berenice will demonstrate to you now how easy it is to do this GeneWay test.
Thanks, Hannon. So we thought we'll do a bit of a live demonstration on the test to show you it's not invasive, it's not scary at all. So you will receive your GeneWay box, and inside the box you will get a paper like this to complete all your details. Please don't forget to complete which test you would like to do. So if it's the gene combo with all 4 tests, please tick that and don't forget to sign the paper. And then as Krista is holding, you do get the swab. It will be sealed, so just break it open. We do also recommend that you test first thing in the morning. So you can swab inside of your cheek, the one side for 30 seconds, and then the other side for 30 seconds. And that's as simple as that. You then put the swab back into the tube. You can put everything back into the packet or in the box. You can let your practitioner know, drop it off at your practitioner where you got the test, or let GeneWay know and they will collect it and it'll be sent straight to the lab, which is local. So the results will be ready within 2 weeks. Will be sent to you via email and you can contact your practitioner for feedback.
So you can get the Gene Renew for only 2,800 Rand or the Gene Combo, which includes all 4 tests, for only 4,080 Rand. Now, this fantastic offer is only valid until Friday. The details are on your screen. Simply email orders@geneway.co.za, WhatsApp 064 729 8590 to secure this once-off special today.
Thank you so much for that live demonstration. You can see how easy it is. You just wipe it on the inside of your cheek. I know that testing my DNA was one of the best things I ever did. It gave me so much useful information, which I implement on a daily basis. And it's really made a big difference in my life. I've also recommended a lot of friends and family that have done it and have felt the same way. We're going to quickly take 1 or 2 questions that have come in on the Q&A box. If you've still got a question, well, you're welcome to pop it in there. Just right at the bottom here, I see Karen put a very good question about the Gene RX test. That's the one about medication. And I'm going to direct this question to Dr. Krista. The question is, the Gene RX test, does it identify all possible interactions with medication in terms of medication you might be prescribed in the future, or does it just test what you're taking at the moment? If you could answer that one.
Thanks, yeah. All right, so we test the genes, and what happens is as pharmaceutical companies develop medications, they normally work on genes. So these tests, will basically give you the information that's currently available in the science, but in essence, the results become more and more and more as new drugs become available, because in package inserts of medications, you will see they actually explain to you how that drug is being metabolized. So so we don't just look at what you're currently taking, we actually test the genes, and then we match the medication to the genetics as well. So there are constantly new data coming out, and we make sure that we keep up to date with that. Maybe also just to take into consideration, not all medications are being metabolized via genes or are affected by genes, but the majority of medications are indeed affected by the genetics.
Very
Thanks, Jeannie.
interesting. So there you have it. Not just for medication you're on at the moment, but for medication you may take in future as well. Whole wide variety of that. Hannon, here's a question for you from Monica. So when you found the lady says, when you found a face cream for your skin, whether it's dry or oily, will you later be able to use cream for normal skin? Like, can your skin type change? That's the essence of that question.
Once skin type does change with age, generally what would happen is probably that your skin would become drier. So let's say you have a combination skin type, which has certain oily areas and certain dry areas. Some of the oily areas might start to diminish, and the balance between the dry and the oily areas wouldn't be so significant. So at some point, you could actually have a normal skin type, yes.
Thank you. Very interesting that. Another question came in from Dr. Zandile. I'll direct this to Dr. Krista again. Do medical aids pay for the test?
Yeah. No, medical aids do not cover these tests at this point in time. One of the reasons for that is because they're actually not allowed to test for it because of the confidentiality reasons. So these tests, the information and your genetic data and your genetic results belong to you and can be used by your healthcare practitioners. So medical aids and so do not pay for that, basically because of confidentiality reasons. They are not allowed to at this point in time.
Thank you. And there's a question that's similar to that. You almost touched on it, so I'll keep it on the same train of thought. And the question is from Julius, how safe is my data, or how safe is my DNA information after I've done this test?
All right, now, so we follow all the laws of the country that is basically determined by international standards about data confidentiality. So we do not share it with any third parties. It's not for sale. We keep and we stick to all the rules because that's obviously also very important for our reputation to keep this as confidential, and we utilize it, we keep it as medical data, so 100% confidential.
Thank you so much. I see we're out of time. I'll ask Hannon to answer one very quick question here. How do Hannon products compare to pH formula products? If you're able to make a comparison, if you're aware of that range?
I do know the range, but I've never used any of the products, and I've never read any of the ingredient listing. So I'm not the right person to answer that question, unfortunately.
Thank you for that honest answer. And I'll take our last question, which has just come in from Yolandi. Can you test children? Bernice, would you maybe like to answer that? Can you test your kids?
Yes, definitely. As I mentioned before, your DNA doesn't change. So we have actually tested a numerous amount of children where parents want to know what is their sporting potential, what are their personality traits like, looking at their sleep genes, some of those who struggle to go to sleep early. So you can definitely test your kids at any age. Actually, a lot of countries overseas, they test children as they're born to see what are these risks and what are these predispositions, to know what to look out for the future and what type of nutrients that you'll be taking in from a younger age, so that you don't get to the age of 40 and go, oh no, what should I do now? So definitely you can test children.
And I've also heard of some parents having very good results knowing what to feed their children after doing the test, specifically on the gene diet. Gives very good recommendations. Anyway, we could talk about this all night. It is so interesting. It's really time to end off now. We've gone over time, but just again, another very big thank you to our panelists, to Hannon, Dr. Krista, and Bernice. Thank you so much. And to everyone at home that took your evening time to join us, we really appreciate that. Just a reminder, if you'd like to order your Geneway test, just to email orders@geneway.co.za. And for any further information, you can always go to Geneway's website, which is www.geneway.co.za. We appreciate all of your time and your energy being here tonight. Thanks again for joining us. Bye for now.